The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back, another week of Lenny Randle's Hot Corner. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and Lenny has a very, very special guest. First, let me introduce Lenny Randle to you guys.
Ciao tutti, international show, Rome, Italy, Germany, Spain, my buddy Sosa out in Madrid, and John Stearns in Colorado.
John Stearns, former New York Met, but before that, a Philadelphia Philly. How are you, sir? Welcome to the airwaves.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'm here in Denver, Colorado. Moved back here about a year ago from Florida, where I've been living for a long time, and I'm back in Denver. It's a little changed from like it used to be, though. There's like
now you grew up in Colorado, am I correct?
Yeah, I'm from Denver, Colorado. I grew up
and
right in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah, so coming home is kind of like old home week, I guess. Any changes?
Kind of like old home. I got family here. My mother is 93. We're trying to take care of her as best we can, and she's hanging in. So I just came back here. I'm not sure I'm going to stay because I like that warm weather and I like that golf game now, guys.
Oh, I could appreciate that, but summers in Colorado are beautiful as well, and it's a trade-off sometimes. As is,
you get to look at the Rocky Mountains all day long. Go outside and look to the west, and you have the Rocky Mountains are sitting right there.
How bad is that? How bad is that? Speaking of trade-offs, my New York Mets back in the day traded someone who was sacred, basically, to the Mets, to New York. Tug McGraw from Vallejo, California, where I went to junior college with his brother.
Right.
And they traded him for you, and it was an uprising of almost like Tom Seaver. But you know what? You gave them like 5-6 great years, super years.
Well, you know what happened? That was a multi-player deal. I don't know why anybody made that deal, because Tug McGraw was one of the best relievers and closers in the National League, and I was just a young guy with no major league experience, but I was probably one of the top prospects in the Phillies organization. Now, there were also some other players involved in that, like Bill Unser came with me to the Mets. He was a center fielder. And Max Scarce, a left-hander reliever, came to the Mets in exchange for Tug McGraw, and I think there were a few other Mets in the deal also. I mean, Schneck, was there a Schneck?
Yes,
and somebody else. But anyway,
Schneck, as a matter of fact, played. He played in the '73 World Series.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
believe he
Willie Mays and who was somebody else were kind of rotated in center field. It was Willie, the end of Willie. But my point is, you really stepped it up and made it an excellent trade for the Mets. You can't have you get a catcher who hits like you did and is solid behind the plate. That's terrific. So just wanted to say
I had a great time. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I had a great time. I was from Denver, Colorado, and I found myself in Manhattan looking around at the tall buildings. It was an experience. I have to regret, though.
Some players can play in New York and some can't. Lenny was one that could, and you were one that could. Let
me tell you something, Ralph. John had swagger. He had the Arizona State Sun Devils football, baseball swagger. He had the Howie Long in and a little bit Newton before Cam Newton. You know, he had the swagger. And
so
we knew that
he wasn't going to be too intimidated by New York.
No way. It was like we all kind of had it because we all wanted to prove something. We had chips on our shoulders. And we knew we were good. We just needed opportunity. And Joe Torre saw that. And Joe Torre was like, those guys are like me when I was in St. Louis. Everybody else in New York was conservative. Hindu came over, Steve Henderson. He brought a little swagger from Houston. John brought his swagger from Denver. I like Arizona State, almost a Sun Devil. Yes. And everybody had, and Craig Swan brought his Sun Devil swagger. And Elliot Maddox brought his Michigan State swagger. So the team had some college guys that were, Big Ten, ASU, Pac-12, Pac-10. We're cocky, but confident, but humble. You know what I mean? We didn't get intimidated. Somebody knocked us down like Roger Clemens did Mike Piazza. The whole country and all our relatives would go on the mound. It wasn't a meeting. We were out there to kick some ass, okay? I'm just to tell it like it is. So John brought a little edge to our team.
Hey, John, I want to know your first meeting with Lenny. What was that about? How did you guys get to be friends?
Well, here's the thing. Lenny joined us. It was a couple of years after I'd been there. And, and the funny thing about it was that when I was in high school, my brother played for the University of Wyoming, which is in the Western Athletic Conference, the same conference as Arizona State. And Lenny was playing for Arizona State. So I went down and watched my brother's team play in Phoenix one spring break. I was a senior in high school. I went down and watched Lenny play against Wyoming. He was playing for Arizona State. And, of course, Arizona State had the best team in the country. So I decided right there, I was a senior. I wanted to go to ASU and play baseball and football, right? So
you didn't want to go where your brother was.
Well, I wasn't going to go to Wyoming. He played for Wyoming, all right? So, but I was waiting for Arizona State to contact me. I had 50 offers to play football all over the country, and as many as that in baseball. And I never heard from ASU, which was my number one pick. Arizona State was my number one pick, so I never heard from them. I didn't go to Arizona State.
So, Ralph, he's pissed at me for 20, 30, 40 years because Frank Kush, he think I had something to do. I said, Frank Kush, get the guy. I said, Winkles, get the guy. He's like Holly Long in football, and he's like freaking Duffy Dyer in baseball. So what we going to win-win? So Stearns told the grudge against me, Lenny, you screwed up my scholarship. I'm like, dude, I got no pull. I got no pull here.
When Lenny came to the Mets later after I'd been playing for the Mets for a few years, and I told him what happened, and I wanted to go to ASU, and Frank Kush, the football coach, and Bobby Winkles was the baseball coach, and neither one of them even called me, sent me a letter, nothing. I mean, I had 50 letters, 100 letters from colleges all over the country in both sports, and Arizona State, not one thing came from Arizona State.
Tell me about
anyway,
Lenny.
That's kind of a joke.
John, would you tell me about Lenny's football prowess at Arizona State? Because we haven't talked about it. I don't know much about it.
Right. Well, I didn't ever see Lenny play football, but I know that he had to be a great running back and punt return type of dude because he was small and quick and fast. And so, he was the kind of guy that, he was short, he was muscly and stocky and very fast. And so the kind of guy that's really hard to tackle. You know what I mean? I can
a Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Somebody like that. He was back returning punts and kickoffs and either playing running back or wide receiver. He would have been a heck of a ball player.
Do you regret the decision? Did you ever think, what if I'd have played football? Or was that
I regret it. Both of us regret it.
Yes.
Both of you regret it?
Play in the NFL. I wanted to play, but what happened was in the draft, the NFL didn't draft me. I got drafted like in the 12th or something, 13th round or something in the NFL. And then when baseball came along my senior year, I ended up going in the first round, the second pick in the country. So I had to go with baseball, you know what I mean? So that kind of squashed my football plans right there. June of 1973, my senior year in college, I was the second pick in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft.
The thing about Jan.
May I just complete a thought? When you were traded to the Mets, I want to know, because you came up in the Phillies organization, all your teammates were there. Was that kind of a shock for you? Were you happy right off the bat, or were you...
Well, it was early December of 1970. Let's see, what was that? 74. And I was totally shocked. I had just finished the year with the Philadelphia Phillies. They started me out in Class A ball, and I went all the way to the big leagues in 1 year. And, they had Bob Boone was the catcher, and they really liked Bob Boone. So, still, I didn't ever think I was going to be traded. So, I called up to the big team in September of 74. The season was over. I went home for the winter, and the phone rang in December and said, "John, this is so-and-so from the Phillies. Traded you to the New York Mets. Thank you very much. Goodbye." And that was it. Boom, I was gone. Next thing I know, I was with the Mets. And the next year, I was in Manhattan looking around at the tall building.
Where did you live when you lived when you played with the Mets? I was from Jackson Heights. I grew up there.
Okay. The first couple of years, I was single, and then first 2 or 3 years, I was living in Manhattan on the Upper East Side, so I had a great time there. I would get on the subway and go out to the ballpark at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a night game. And back then, I could do that. Even if people recognize you, they let you just sit there in the seat. They didn't mob you and want your autograph and all of this kind of stuff. So, it was fun.
Took the 7 out to the ballpark.
Took the 7 right out to the ballpark. Just
not bad.
Union Station.
In the Big Apple.
7 line right out to Shea Stadium. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It was fun.
Lenny mentioned you guys both were managed by Joe Torre.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Torre was named manager after I'd been there for a few years. I actually played with Joe in the beginning. He was playing in 1975, my rookie year. He played for the Mets, and in 1976, and then he became the manager in 77.
Right, and I think he replaced Frazier, if I'm not mistaken.
77.
Yeah, he took Frazier's job. Yeah, Frazier was there,
right.
And then he took Frazier's job. He was a player. He was a first baseman, catcher, third baseman. Joe Torre was with Claypool.
Yeah, he was.
And John Milner. And then when Frazier didn't know how to make out the lineup, Stearns kind of took over and said, "We need a new guy." I don't want to start a rumor here, but Stearns had a lot of juice and said, "Grody's got to go. I got this." The dude starts filling bases, really. Had quick arm, and then guys start acting like, we were third class. So Stearns goes, "Dave Parker, when you tag up the third, let me make sure I break your jaw, because I'm a linebacker and I don't take no bull." So he puts a 6'6", 285-pound linebacker class wide receiver / replacement of Roberto Clemente, and he tagged up at home, and dude broke his jaw.
Really?
When dude broke his jaw, yeah, this is a true story. Got it on film. The altercation came after Mel Ott took Felix Leon and broke his arm. It was a violent day with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And all of a sudden, play number 2 was John Stearns breaking Parker's jaw. Then from that point on, we went from third place to second.
Whoa.
we had a Met revolution going on. Then the guys are like, "Cincinnati Reds next. Don't mess with the dude Stearns in the new Mets. Don't mess with that, man." We got Apodaca knocked you down. We got Seaver had an attitude. Matlack and Kuzman said, "Dude, where were you at when we needed you in 75 and 76? He said, "Well, he brought the Arizona State swagger to New York."
Hey, you mentioned the hammer as kind of a throwaway with Cranepool, but Milner was terrific. He was one of my favorites. If you guys can, he was a pure hitter. every ball was a line drive off this guy's bat. And
John Miller was really
I don't
good.
understand why his career wasn't longer and what that was about.
He reminded me of Strawberry. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
He was a really good first baseman, left-hand hitter, hit for power, and something happened there. He was having some good years with the Mets, and then traded him to the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's the last he played for the Pirates for a few years, and then after that, it just kind of, I don't know what happened to him, but he was a very talented and good young player for the Mets back in the mid-'70s and early '70s. Yes.
Ralph, he was like a Strawberry, like a dull Strawberry or early Strawberry. Same kind of swing, power, 25, 30 home runs. Low key, I think the pressure of New York got to him.
I thought he lost at-bats to Cranepool, and that really wasn't fair. They both.
Well, let me give you another inside scoop. Willie Piero Caliente Montañez, International Player Hotel de Puerto Rico, came in, and Willie was hitting 30 bombs and 100 ribbies. So that was another reason why he couldn't play anymore, because Willie was colorful. Willie came in with showmanship. Willie had swagger. If there was a swagger team, we would have won the league MVP for swagger. I mean, you don't know Willie like we know Willie. Well, let me give you an example, Ralph. When we throw a ball, if Stearns or myself pick somebody off at first, Willie would take the ball, cup it like a bear, and put it in his shoulder holster if the guy was out. If he struck out or missed a pitch, he would take his bat like Earl Flynn and pull it out like a sword.
Did he play out in San Francisco for a little bit as well?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I do remember that little swirl, that Jim Bowie thing, or Zorro, or whatever it was.
He fits today's players like the World Cup and like the current Astros. Little colorful, little showmanship, little hot doggy. Altuve, he fits it.
Right.
He really would have fit right now. It's
Bring some joy into the game. How about that?
It's fun to be with. John, we have fun with it? Go ahead.
Hey, Lenny, listen to this.
Yeah.
I just called Willie because remember the hurricane hit.
The hurricane, exactly. Yeah, and Felix.
So I called him about 2 weeks ago and talked to him, and I told him that I was thinking about him and Felix Leon and all of these guys from Puerto Rico that we played with. Jose Cheo Cruz, Jerry Morales, and I played with all of those guys in winter ball in Puerto Rico back in '75. So I called Willie, and we had a nice talk. He said everything was okay down there, and not where I said, Willie, I could come down there and help if you need me to. He said, no, don't do that. We're fine here. And so hopefully, I think I hope Puerto Rico is getting some help from our government, and that they can turn things around and get rebuilt.
Hey, John, that's an insight into you and your being, and that's a wonderful story about former teammates, keeping in touch, and that is really beautiful. I am honored to have you on these airwaves.
Well, it's amazing, John. Just as you mentioned that, Ivan De Jesus and Ivan Rodriguez and Luis Majorel, they had just got out of before the hurricane went to Texas for an event we had.
Wow.
And they were like, you couldn't believe it. And they were concerned about their families, naturally. You know, because the phone lines went down, there was no satellite, nothing. So they were like worried like crazy. And they're not looking for government help. They're looking for family and God help.
Right.
And they're still in the middle of all that. That's going to take years to recover from what happened down there. I mean, it was awful.
Terrible.
It was awful. So we've got to keep those guys in mind in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
And in every nook and cranny of this world, we have natural disasters, man-made disasters, political-made disasters.
Crazy.
It's absolutely
crazy.
nuts.
I don't know what's going on. It's pretty crazy.
John, I think we can heal it, me and you. I think we can. We'll throw Ralph in the workstation. I think we can save the world. No politics, just swagger.
Yeah, Swagger will do it.
I'm ready to go. If somebody called me right now and said, we need you down here in Puerto Rico, I would go right down there.
Yeah, heartbeat.
I asked Willie and Felix Mian if they need me to come down. And they said, they told me, no, we're okay down here. We're going to make this. It's, but I'm ready to, I'm ready to go down there and just,
Ralph, you may not know this, but that country, off-season winter ball, they made us who we are because we went there to hone our skills. We went to Puerto Rico to get better hitting. Willie Mays. Yeah, he's the reason why I went. He told me to go down. Willie Mays.
Right.
Juan Benitez. Willie, that saved Willie's career. They loved him like he was a saint playing in Puerto Rico, Santurce.
Yeah.
And
there was some extra bucks in the wintertime back when they were paying guys peanuts. And that, Lenny, I never hear you complain, but you're from a different era, and John, same thing. What do you make of today's game, the way it is and how business controls it?
Yeah, it's a lot about money today. I'm actually a season ticket holder for the Colorado Rockies living here in Denver.
Right.
Yeah, they've got a lot. The bottom line is, though, you still got to win 6 out of 10 games, get to the playoffs, and get through that World Series. That's what it's all about. So, I think the game's a little bit different, but it's still Major League Baseball, and it's still, for me, it's exciting. And if you're going to be a player coming up, it's difficult to get there, and it's a big reward when you do get there.
Right. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask a whole bunch of people over the years. I think it's interesting. What was the first year like for you after you stopped playing, and how did you stop the wheels from turning and get that competition thing going? First year you're at a ball. What was it like?
Well, I was very upset about it because when I stopped playing, it wasn't because I was too old. It was because of an injury. So I had a problem with my throwing arm. There was a ligament in my arm. I went 2 years trying to rehab it, and it didn't get fixed. And finally, I got cut by the Mets, and that was it. I was kind of out of it. So I was still trying to play. I went and played 1 year. I played a half a year for the Denver had a AAA team back then, and I played for them. And I tried to come back, but I couldn't come back. So I had to move on. And a year later, I stepped right back in as a minor league coach, and then I spent about 20 to 25 years in coaching and scouting in professional baseball. So that's the way I handled it, and I was able to stay in the game as a coach and scout, and that helped me get through everything quite a bit.
Who scouted you initially with the Phillies, and who signed you?
The Phillies had one of their premier scouts living in Denver back then. His name was Moose Johnson. And so he followed me through high school and college. And he knew that I was a good player and stayed with me all those years. And then he was instrumental in the Phillies using their first-round pick on me in 1973.
Good. I'm glad we could give him some kudos because Scouts should be in the Hall of Fame. Am I right, guys?
Scouts, they get down and have to really get after the work there at the amateur level, yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of negativity, how many guys make it out of so many signed. So if he signed the number one guy, and he, like you, I'm glad you're giving him some credit. So, Lenny, Oh, go ahead.
So listen to this quick story about scouts and the draft. In '73, I was the second player in the first round, but there were some mistakes made there by drafting me second because right after me in the draft were 3 Hall of Famers. So the third pick in that draft in 73 was Robin Yount. The fourth pick in the first round of the 73 draft was Dave Winfield. And then about number 25 to Boston was Freddie Lynn. All of those guys are Hall of Famers, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The joke is, how did the Phillies blow it? And they took me with the second pick. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what. I'd rather have a catcher than Robin. I'd rather have you than Robin Yount, to be honest with you. Maybe I missed something following it as an outsider. I don't think Yount was good and he was solid, but for a catcher to be good and solid, I don't know.
Well, those guys were in another world, though. You know, Winfield, Freddie Lynn.
Oh, Winfield, yes.
But let me give you a little introspective on catchers, as a former catcher as well. Now, look, catchers pretty much are the second manager or the first manager, depending on how strong the personality of your manager. Your Billy Martin, your Ted Williams. But I looked at Mike Sosa, and I looked at Troy, and I looked at Yogi Berra. These guys were all managers. I look at Girardi; they're all managers, and they were great team guys as well. So they were like the glue of the team. So when you got a catcher, you know, your Grodies, you can look at your Piazzas, and I can give you a whole history of guys that have managerial potential. But they also end up in the front office like Bob Boone. You know, they kind of know players' personalities and talent. So if you got one guy that's the superstar or star of the team, and you're not winning, the catcher's kind of be the glue to keep everything together because the 1-2 punch with Seaver and his Jersey, it kind of held it together until they got rid of Seaver. Then it was next man up, Swan, Zachary, and Kuzman and Matlack. It works that way that you got to be strong up the middle. Number 1, the pitcher, 2, the catcher, 3, center field or shortstop, depending on which organization has at the short and second level. You know, you can look at Morgan, you can look at Concepcion. Dave Concepcion gets no play. Nobody ever talked about Dave Concepcion. He was a hell of a shortstop. They don't talk about the scale. Hell of a shortstop. But Elson, hell of a shortstop.
Scale was the best fielding shortstop ever. He was out here with the Giants for the last part of his career. He was absolutely flawless, as smooth as can be. But I'm going to ask you, Lenny, am I right about John being in a class with Robin Yount for that?
Yeah, but look, Fred Lynn didn't go to the World Series, did he? I don't think so, right?
Fred Lynn had that great first year.
Robin Yount played 20 years and had 3,000 hits, man. He was in the world, that guy.
That's okay. Molitor too, but they, you know, I'm talking about the glue of the team. The glue of the team.
Looking back for the Phillies, wasn't a bad draft choice. How about that?
No, John, don't take it to the grave, John. You're a good player, bro.
No, it worked out okay. They actually traded me to the Mets, and they got a key player back when they won the World Series in 1980 or 81. One of those years they won the World Series, and the guy that they traded for was the reason they won. They got Tug McGraw to be their closer. So it was a multiplayer deal, but those two guys,
they were
I think McGraw.
Well,
McGraw was the key for
Carlton. You know, you had Carlton and you had.
It was a good trade for both teams, and I say that as a fan.
Yeah.
Were you there, John, when they traded Seaver?
Yeah, I was there.
Okay. What?
And we traded him to the Reds.
I thought Dougie Flynn and I thought Henderson. I thought Zachary was terrific. You couldn't replace Seaver. What did that do to the clubhouse?
Well, he kind of
a downer right away. Was everybody looking at each other? If they could trade him, we could be going tomorrow. That type of thing.
No, the clubhouse. When we traded Seaver, it was a whole new ball game. So we kind of were starting all over, and we had a bunch of young guys, and we got 4 players from Cincinnati's receiver, and they were all 3 of them were playing, and you know, that was it. We just had to move on, and it was a change in the era.
Yes.
You know?
I call it the Bruce Beauclair era.
Bruce Beauclair. Yes, he came up through the Met system, yes. He did.
Yes.
I made you
Yes.
laugh, John. Hey, Lenny, this is the show for the week, I guess, because you're traveling this week. And,
yeah, I'm traveling Europe, Germany, and Spain. I'll be back next week.
You'll be back next week, and
but I'm going to call you whatever time zone.
Call me whenever, anytime you can pick we'll do a show on the fly, 24/7. John, this is very cool for me, I got to tell you.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, just let me know. Get a hold of me, Lenny. You got my.
Well,
number,
listen.
So.
Yeah, we're going to take John over to Europe, Italy, and teach catching over there. So, Ralph, you'll be our spokesperson in the booth.
I'll be the public address announcer. Here I go. Now about John Stearns. How about that? That's as close as I could get.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Stay in touch.
Talk to you soon, brother.
Buddy.
I'll keep you posted.
Good.
All right.
Can't wait to
God
have you
bless
back on the air, John. And Lenny, we'll see you next week. Travel and be safe.
Ciao. Gracias.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, talk to you, bro. I'll send you a text.
If you're listening out there
Bye-bye.
and you enjoyed the show, I hope you will take a moment to accumulate some lightly used children's books, put them in a box, take them down to the Head Start program, wherever you are, whatever city you're in. Get kids reading, get kids staying in school, going to school, prepared for school, all that stuff. Adios, everybody. See you next week, Lenny.
Okay, guys.
All right. Take care. Ciao. Shalom.
Ciao and shalom.